నమస్తే. నా పేరు సుధా మూల్పూర్. టీఏజీబీ తరఫున అందరికీ స్వాగతం, సుస్వాగతం. ప్రస్తుతపు పరిస్థితులను ఎదుర్కోవడానికి మనందరం వివిధ రకాలుగా ప్రయత్నిస్తున్నాం. పోతే కొంతమంది ఈ పరిస్థితిని ఒక మంచి అవకాశంగా మార్చుకొని వారి ప్రతిభను వ్యక్తం చేస్తున్నారు. దీనికి ఒక చక్కని ఉదాహరణ మన ముందుకు రాబోతున్న వ్యాక్సిన్ అనే తెలుగు షార్ట్ ఫిల్మ్. ఉత్తర అమెరికాలో ఉన్న కొంతమంది సినీ ప్రేమికులు ఐఫోన్, క్యానన్ 5Dలతో పాండమిక్ మీద తీసిన మొట్టమొదటి తెలుగు చిత్రం ఇది. ఇప్పుడు ఈ చిత్ర దర్శకులు తారాగణంతో ముఖాముఖి.
నా పేరు ప్రతిమా పెనుమర్తి. ఈరోజు నేను ఐఎమ్ టేకింగ్ దిస్ వండర్ఫుల్ ఆపర్చునిటీ టు talk about short films gurinchi and even have the one virtually face to face with the filmmaker and the entire crew. Short films gurinchi cheppalante, we all know it is very important to audiences, societies, communities in general, because they are simple forms of entertainment. You can say usually they're edited tightly and they stay entertaining throughout the entire length of the short movie. Short movies, short films, they give voices to filmmakers who otherwise would not have been able to put themselves out, maybe due to lack of time or access. So short filmmakers, they are the ones who make, in fact I can say they are the makers and then find an audience on OTT platforms. And while audience go, I mean, even with an audience, they give a niche interest for obscure genre of a movie, and they find in filmmakers in the same place. Anyone who wants to become a filmmaker, it requires painstaking determination, resilience, a proper vision. So Danaki, today we are wonderful that we are having along with us today Sam or Sampath with us, will be talking much more and telling us more. And I would like to also welcome the entire team to have today face-to-face conversation.
ముందుగా మనము ఈ చిత్ర దర్శకులు శ్రీ సంపత్ తెలకిచెర్ల కందాల గారు, ఆంధ్రాలో పుట్టి పెరిగిన మన తెలుగువారు, పై చదువులకు అమెరికా వచ్చి ప్రస్తుతం హెల్త్ కేర్ ఇండస్ట్రీలో వర్క్ చేస్తున్నారు. అందరిలా సినిమాలు చూస్తూ పెరిగినా ఆయన వాటి బిహైండ్ ద సీన్స్ అంటే మక్కువ ఎక్కువ చూపించేవారు. లిమిటెడ్ రిసోర్సెస్ తో సినిమా తీయడం ఆయన హాబీగా చేసుకున్నారు. సంపత్ గారు, వెల్కమ్ అండి. మీకు మీ ఫుల్ టీమ్ కి వెల్కమ్ టు TAGB.
Yeah, thank you, Sudha garu. Thank you, Pratima garu and Ramakrishna garu. Wonderful opportunity for us and the team. Yeah, let's begin. So we're looking forward.
ఇప్పుడు ఈ OTT platforms అంటాం కదా, like it's basically the shopping for content. Filmmakers are always there who have been very creative during this lockdown, and I'm pretty sure it is beneficial to most of the filmmakers. What do you say to begin with the conversation?
Yeah, I think మీరు first chapter point, it's resonating. Anybody who has passion and limited resources can make a movie. అన్నట్టుగానే I think OTTs also became like anybody who can make a movie has an avenue to showcase the movie, right? Yeah, history lo చూసుకుంటే కనుక you have to release in a theater, which is a very costly proposition, and I think that equation is out right now, right? I think with the COVID, even OTT actually amplified that effect. So ఇప్పుడు మీరు like a 10 to 15 minute content తీసుకుని you can publish in different platforms as long as it's a neat content. So Amazon open just today, you have movies worth like 10-minute worth of movies duration. So I think OTT is just exponentially increasing the reach between the content maker and the viewer. So there are a lot of OTT platforms today. I mean, YouTube, manaku telusu, Amazon, Netflix also. But apart from that, there are so many other platforms who cannot publish. They also can make a movie and put it there. So I think primarily OTT is definitely a blessing for any filmmaker who can actually make content of their favorite subject. And then, and I think another advantage with OTT is you don't have to go physically to a theater, right? I mean that viewing experience is mainly for large scale movies like big war movies or spectacles or fantasy. So whereas OTT, you can watch it on a cell phone or on the go. I think there are a lot of movie type of formats will also change, and the genres. I think all in all, in summary, OTT is going to take over for small time filmmakers or some genre filmmakers.
సంపత్ గారు, మీకు అసలు ఈ షార్ట్ ఫిల్మ్ తీయాలన్న ఆలోచన ఎలా వచ్చింది? ప్రతి ఒక్కళ్ళ వెనకాల ఏదో ఫోర్స్ ఉంటుంది అంటున్నారు. మీ వెనకాల ఫోర్స్ ఏంటి అసలు? ఎందుకు వచ్చింది ఈ ఆలోచన మీకు?
సో ఇది నా సెకండ్ షార్ట్ ఫిల్మ్ అండి. సో మై ఫస్ట్ షార్ట్ ఫిలిం వాజ్ మేడ్ లాస్ట్ ఇయర్ అండ్ రిలీజ్డ్ ఈ జనవరిలో. మూవీ తీస్తానని ప్రాబబ్లీ నేను ఎప్పుడు స్ట్రాంగ్ అనుకోలేదు. ఐ బీన్ డెఫినెట్లీ హ్యూజ్ ఫాలోవర్ ఆఫ్ డిఫరెంట్ టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ మూవీస్. చాలా రకాల మూవీస్ ఎంజాయ్ చేస్తాను. బట్ లాస్ట్ ఇయర్ మా అండర్ గ్రాడ్యుయేట్ ఫ్రెండ్స్ రీయూనియన్ ఒకటి అయ్యింది అనమాట కొలరాడోలో. సో వీఆర్ బ్రెయిన్ స్టార్మింగ్ వాట్ షుడ్ వి డూ సంథింగ్ డిఫరెంట్ అని. So from that, an idea was born around making a short film, and then obviously within the given resources, iPhone వాడి ఒక సినిమా ఎలా తీయచ్చు, and then music మనం చేయకపోయినా how can you source the music so you can actually tell a compelling story. ఇలాంటి few experiments చేసి I think it turned out. We were able to generate a 20-minute short film and it publish చేయగలిగాం YouTube లో. So that experiment gave us the confidence that anybody can make a short film, and that reunion experience was kind of the starting point.
When you look, in fact, I can say that when you know a script is ready to shoot, right? So as a writer, what is your process of getting it there?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And so I think in this case, for example, if you take vaccine as a subject, normally everything starts with a triggering point, the inspiration point. So for me, the vaccine idea was born out of having two people talking at a dining table. How about we make an entire intense movie in the context of a pandemic? An idea launch putti. Then I kind of added different elements, right? My personal taste was okay, crime element undali, thriller element undali. So you kind of layer it out one after other. So you start with a seed, like in this case, it should be like a pandemic context lo oka interrogation type of a movie ala undali, and an idea ni teeskuni. Then you basically figure out, right? I think main thing with the short film and it's all about resources. So I mean, anything you can put on a white paper, but actually, how do you implement it to a point where you can ఒక 10 మందినో ఒక 100 మందినో ఒక 10 నిమిషాలు కూర్చోపెట్టగలగాలి కదా. సో అది ఎలాగ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ చేస్తాము అన్నదానికి యూ కన్సీవ్ డిఫరెంట్ సీన్స్. So I kind of write in terms of chapters. So okay, first chapter is like a family introduction and something needs to happen there. So you kind of divide the movie making process into different chapters, and you give life to the character as to what happens between the characters, and then what should the audience feel within that particular chapter. I think at the end, you, as a director, you need to see or at least have an idea. This is how the scene should feel for the audience. Whether it translates to that, whether the audience feel that way, that's probably the secondary. But as a director, you need to have that first clarity so that you can explain to the audience, to the actors. So tying all these things to your question, when will the script gets ready, right? I think you have to live and breathe those scenes. And I think almost like I bounce it off with my wife or with my parents who are in house. So ఇంక దీనికంతా ఏమీ చేయలేం దీనికి, okay, now I'm getting excited. And the point you will know. I think somebody actually said like keep asking questions to your story. So story will tell you the response, right? So I think at a point when the story can't answer anything, that means that's it. There is nothing more you could do. So I hope I answered the question.
సంపత్ గారు, మీరు మీ కాస్ట్ ని క్రూని ఎట్లా సెలెక్ట్ చేసుకున్నారు? ఎలాగా ఇప్పుడు కళ్యాణి గారిని యాక్ట్రెస్ లాగా, మన ఓంకార్ ఏమో ఫోటోగ్రఫీకి, రఘు గారు మీ డైరెక్టర్స్ టీమ్, ఎట్లా చూస్ చేసుకున్నారు? ఏం బేసిస్?
Good question, and I'll probably give the lead and let others also answer in this process. So definitely actors turned out to be an interesting process, and I had like I originally wanted like three principal for this movie, right? I originally wanted three principal characters for the movie. So I kind of approached one person I know from past, so he was kind of logged in for the role. But then as I was approaching the other person, they kind of recommended who is more interested in the acting, right? So that one thing led to another. I must say it kind of turned out a little bit lucky in terms of like-minded people coming together on this project from an acting perspective, especially in the case of Kalyani and her son Sanjay. Their roles were very small in the beginning when I wrote the script, but as we were discussing the plot, I really got excited with their passion and figured a way to build the story, and which actually integrate in the baga. So I think that's how they came on board. Similarly, Om's mom, she also played a role. So that's the story behind the casting. From the direction team, Andy, actually Raghu and I, we kind of are friends before the movie itself, right? I mean, we shared same or similar tastes in terms of the movies we go, and we actually talk a lot about like how this scene is conceived, what can be done better and all that. So naturally I think Raghu is an extension part of the direction team, so I think it's not a difficult choice for me to get Raghu on board. Omkar is very interesting. I think we most of the film, without giving spoilers, and we actually shot in Omkar's, I mean, family's place. While ఇంట్లో, when we were actually on day one, when we got all the equipment there and start setting it up, I mean, Om is like, no, I know this, I know I can do this, and I mean, మీరు ఇలా చేస్తున్నారు, like, no, you have a better way. He just like self what you call not appointed, but it's more like integrated into the process. As I think it just amplified. Maku Naveen ani main photographer unnaru, is a common friend of us. So I kind of picked him up when we started the movie. But as we were doing the shoot day one, Om was just phenomenal. I mean, he got into the process with the lighting and camera, and then he మీరు సినిమాలో చూస్తారు యాక్చువల్లీ దేర్ ఆర్ లాట్ ఆఫ్ షాట్స్ దట్ ఓమ్ has taken, like almost Hollywood shots laga untayi. I'm really surprised. But I'll pause there. I want Kalyani, Om and Raghu to weigh in here.
So actually, there's a question for Kalyani, and even if Om can also join in this. Kalyani, when you were acting, right, in this, what is the biggest challenge, about taking on this role that you had? Kalyani, could you please share first?
So I think in terms of, first of all, thank you for having us. And then in terms of challenge, Ante, for somebody who has never done acting before, I think it's definitely being in front of the camera, taking several retakes and knowing how the process works, right? That's a learning process in itself, because I've never done this before. And it's very interesting how everything comes out together, and I have a lot more respect for all the film stars, because what I see at the end is like all acting and chala easy ga anpistund when we see a movie, right? But then there's a lot more that actually goes into making a movie, so you kind of gain a respect for that. And I think that's what I have learned, and I have renewed respect for everybody. I mean, people behind the camera, the people who wrote the script, because there's a lot of things that need to fall in place for something to come together, right? Even if it's a short film, especially for a short film, you have to convey the story in like 20 minutes, not like a feature film, because a feature film you have 2.5 hours, right? So you have much more time to play with. But here it's only 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and then it's hard to get to convey a story, right, in such a short time. So I think all that, I think I've gained a lot of respect for movie making, and then I think I've gotten an interest in acting too. I mean, it's probably I felt like, oh, this is something that I'm actually enjoying, right? Because I've not explored this avenue before. So I think thanks to Sampath, I think I've gotten an opportunity, and then thanks to TAGB for encouraging us. So I think this is all very encouraging for all of us. I think every actor has their own, I think, highlights in this film. I think definitely, because each role is very different and each role has its own highlights. So I think everybody did a wonderful job, and then I think you all will like everybody's performances. And because it's my son, I would say my son, even though his role is small, I would say that with his interest, he wanted to go out and play, and I would like make him come back in and do a shot, right? So for his age, and also I think it's definitely it's a good experience for him, which I felt it is. But then sitting and doing that film for his age, I felt like it's a little long process too. But he did it, so I'm grateful for that and happy for that. Everybody's role is different, and everybody's emotions that they have to portray in each scene is completely different. So I think everybody did a fantastic job.
కళ్యాణ్ గారు మీ వాయిస్ రింగ్ అవుతోంది. ఎప్పుడు రిజిస్టర్ చేసావు కరణ్ అని, ఏం రిజిస్టర్ చేశారు, ఎక్కడ రిజిస్టర్ చేసుకోవాలి తెలుసుకోవాలని ఉబలాటంగా ఉంది చాలా.
తెలుసుకోవాలంటే ఫ్రైడే, సో ప్లీజ్ వాచ్ అండ్ దెన్ యూ ఆల్ కెన్ నో ఏం రిజిస్టర్ చేశారు, ఎలా రిజిస్టర్ చేశారు, సో అండ్ ద స్టోరీ బిహైండ్ ఇట్. సో
next question, Om. I know, so you are struggling with so many activities through the summer, school work before that. Etla manage chesavu nanna anta doing that and focusing on this?
I mean, thank you again for having me and all the vaccine team. But when it comes to the, management and my time management, throughout COVID and throughout the summer, I haven't had really anything to do. As in school-wise, school ended long time before we started production. And by doing this vaccine movie and like shooting, it's been really fun. It's been a great experience, and it's as Sampath Uncle said earlier, it's I just kind of slid into how I played a role into it, because I heard my dad was going to play a role, and then I was like interested because there was going to be like camera, a lot of camera equipment and all that lighting. So I came downstairs, to help, and it was just awesome.
What, according to you, what makes good DOP?
What makes a good director of photography? I mean, in my opinion, I would say, a good director of photography would, get creative ways of looking at things. And also just trying to help out in any way, shape, or form.
And if you were to do something different in the movie, what would that be?
If I were to do something different, I would personally want to act, because I have always been interested in productions. I've actually started in a few, plays and musicals. One in villain, one, hero. It's just fun acting as well. But I really enjoyed playing the role of the director of photography. That was really fun.
No, that's good. I just want to jump in and say, like, I think all the kids in the New England area will become fans of Omkar and Sanjay after watching this movie. So.
డైరెక్టర్లు ఇండియాలో ఎన్ని ప్రతిసారి కట్ కట్ అంటారు, మీరు ఎన్నిసార్లు అనాల్సి వచ్చింది? మీ వాళ్ళు కోఆపరేట్ చేశారా లేదా?
So first of all, thank you so much for having us here, Andy. Really appreciate all your help and the promotion and encouraging us. So I think this was really, really fun experience, and I must say, most of them, except for one, right? Most of them are acting for the first time. Taking that into consideration, it's amazing how much faster we were able to shoot the entire process. I mean, some of them did phenomenally good even in the first take. So surprisingly, I must say, I mean, I didn't have to do reshoots and stuff like that. There were some scenes which are funny. I mean, they might release probably bloopers later, but there were some scenes which were the simplest in the movie, but that took longer for no good reason. I think it just happened in the time, but otherwise some of the most prominent and complicated scenes, it's amazing. We were able to, the actors did so phenomenally good that we were able to shoot everything in a couple takes. It wasn't much really. So I think kudos to all the actors. They did a phenomenal job, which makes the directors and the directors teams and editing and everything, right, go that much smoother. So I think they did really great.
When driving the plot or the character development, there are some elements which is very important in the production, and that's production sound design. Very, very important. I think that's the background and atmospheric noise. Ade telustundi. I mean, that tells the audience where the particular scene is taking place, right? And we all know that without them, the realism of any scene is taken away, and it actually stands out to the viewer, even if they're not even sure why, correct? So this question is because right now I can of course ask Sampath itself this question, because on behalf of the sound design and the entire editing team.
Yeah, so I think a couple of things, and sound design. So to me, in this movie, I wanted sound and lighting as two characters, not just a supplemental thing, right? So they play actually a key role in the movie itself. So when it comes to sound, you have two different elements. Actually the voice element, then the background music element. So when it comes to voice, most of the movie we used something called sync sound. Ante meeku on the set mics petti record chesi, then post processing lo you apply some tools to eliminate all the unwanted stuff. And we did a little bit of dubbing, which I think Kalyani really enjoyed the process. Then yeah, background music, right? So I think here we found so actually if you think about it, like we don't have like original music director in the movie on the movie team. So but you have options today. If you buy license through third parties places, you can actually get the music that you want. So as a sound designer, you really need to know which kind of mood you want to bring into that particular scene. So it's a pretty intense process. So I think if at all anything that we, myself and my dear friend Vijay, who is based in North Carolina, we spent a lot of time is to make the 12-minute episode very intense from editing and the sound perspective.
మీకు ఈ సినిమా తీస్తున్నప్పుడు నీకు టెక్నికల్ గా ఛాలెంజింగ్ గా అనిపించింది ఏదైనా ఉందా? ఉంటే అది మీరు ఎట్లా, హౌ డిడ్ యు ఓవర్కమ్?
So technically challenging in the sense, I think everything was more challenging only because of the current crisis we are in. So obviously we had to make sure everybody, we are at a safe distance from each other, at the same time enjoy the overall process. So that adi koncham stressful anpichindi, but purely from a filmmaking process, I think Sampath said we made this on a very limited resources. So iPhone, Canon 5D, lighting equipment and stuff. So some indoor shots, especially this intense scene that Sampath is referring to, we found challenges with lighting sometimes. So with Om's and Naveen's, brilliance, we were able to adjust the lighting. Sometimes we had to make tough calls, like call it for the day and resume it in the morning, so that we could leverage the natural resources versus artificial. Because again, we are trying to do this on a limited resources, right? So things like that. I think lighting was one of the biggest challenges we had. Obviously, we were getting some shadows behind the scenes and stuff like that. So we had to do things a little differently, multiple takes just to get the right lighting, because we want to do as much as possible in real time. And then in post-production, we want to do, obviously make it better. But then if you don't shoot it the right way to begin with, post-production, there's only so much you could do in post-production. And it becomes much more challenging. So I think definitely lighting, Andy, and then, just the overall COVID, situation, just to make sure everybody is, following the norms, and we were all maintaining safe distance and stuff. But otherwise, I think, in fact, we were pleasantly surprised and happy that we could pull it off in shorter time frame than what we anticipated initially when we began the movie.
Even though I can say, while the concept of film anetappudiki, it comes from group of artists or can be a single artist, right? Filmmaking itself is a joint effort. So on your behalf, and Meeru and Sam, both of you, what would you say something about this collaborative nature of filmmaking?
Oh, absolutely, Andy. I think, definitely director is the captain of any movie. He or she makes all the calls. I mean, it's a tremendous job as a director to pull everything together. See, as we know in personal lives too, more people, different mentalities, right? It's very important for the director or the actors or everybody who is working on the team to stay focused on what we are here for. So in that sense, I think what worked out for us is really, we are a group of friends, and at the same time, we came to know some people new for this film, but they're all so good and like-minded people that we were able to work, together very well and gel very well. And I think in a matter of time, we became so close friends that now that we think about it, right? Without this movie, we would have missed this friendship. Actually, we made some good friends. So definitely, and the like-minded people are very important. And Sampath and have been friends for many years, and 90% of our topics are always around movies whenever we meet. So that thing worked for us from a directions team perspective, but the actors were so good, so cooperative. I think the biggest challenge for directors is, once you become friends, it becomes more difficulties. You would get into the situation where you might think, oh, what will the actors or friends think if you want to call like maybe 10 times or 20 times or whatever, right? But all the actors and friends here were so cooperative. Nobody was ever told us that, they can't do it anymore, right? Some of the days, people, I mean, they started like, 10 or 9ish or 10ish in the morning, and we were going all the way through 10 p.m. sometimes. And yet the energy was so huge that it pulled, it made our job easier. So definitely, I think kudos to the team that who played every, all the roles here, and it's all this coordination for sure, Andy.
Absolutely, yeah. Kalyani, what do you hope people will actually take away from this film?
I think first of all, I hope people enjoy the film, because this is something that we want to take in front of the audience. And the second thing, I think, as Sampath mentioned, is that anybody, right, who has a passion for movie making, and anybody who wants to act, right, this is something that where people who have no experience in acting have come together and they have acted, right. So it's kind of like a proof that, hey, if you have interest, even at any stage in your life, right, you still have choices. Just go ahead and take the first step and do it, right. And then you can, I think this is a way to showcase that, especially. And even like Om, right, he has how he has developed this interest in photography. It would not have happened if we didn't come together, right. And there are so many great things that happen. And Sampath, I mean, I know all of us gelled so well, and I'm sure there are other scripts that he's probably penning down, and he has other ideas too, right? And so I think towards the end, I think hopefully everybody will enjoy the film, and there's many. Hopefully there are many more. And this, especially TAGB giving us a platform like this, I think it's helpful for us or anybody else who are interested in movie making, and anybody else who wants to do something different. I mean, especially in COVID times, right? Everything has become so mundane, and we've kind of retreated back into our shells, which is very hard because you're not having as much socialization as before. And so I think this is an example of how, if you want to do something, even in times of a pandemic, you can still get together and you can still do something different and make it happen.
Hi, Sanjay.
Hi.
So I believe you acted in the movie. So nee feeling enti, how did you feel acting in this movie? Where especially mom is in the same movie. మీ ఇద్దరు ఇంటరాక్షన్ ఏమన్నా ఉందా మూవీలో, లేదా వద్దు అమ్మొద్దు అనుకున్నావా?
I mean, at first I was a little nervous about acting in it. If my friends ever saw it, what they would think, just me being embarrassed. And then there's one scene where I don't want to spoil
I was just telling him not to say the scene because I know he was about to like reveal the whole scene, but I know what he was trying to say is at first I think he was a little nervous about what his friends would say. I think it's the age where he's like the preteen, right, and not so little anymore, but not a teen, right? So he's worried about what would they think. And then the other day he was like, oh, can you tell me which platforms this movie would release, because I want to tell my friends. So it's kind of like he's very excited about it. On the other hand, he's also very little bit nervous and kind of he doesn't know what his friends would think. And then I said, the first thing, if you have an interest for it and if that's what you want to do, you should go ahead. I mean, what your friends think and all that is all secondary, because you might not get an opportunity like this again, right? So go ahead and do the movie, right? And then we can that's what I told him.
Yeah, actually, clearly speaking, ఈ lockdown, మన quarantine, the COVID వల్ల, it has actually tested all the resourcefulness and more than, I can say more than one way. And because of this, amazing filmmakers are rising to the challenge. Actually, even Om, you can answer this question. What most surprised you in making, or, to be a part of this film?
I was really surprised of how almost professional, like the professionalism in this film. When I first heard that my dad was doing a short film, I thought take an iPhone, film around. But then I saw all the camera equipment, all the lighting, and it just blew me away of how how much consideration went into the making of this film.
And also, this is for Sampath too. And do any of the actors, when you took them, did they have any prior experience? And if they didn't have, was it very hard for you on your part, to pull it off?
So no, I think I mean the short answer in terms of pulling it off, no. From an experience perspective, I think only one person on the team. He and I worked on the first movie, but it's a totally different character for him in this movie. So I would consider everyone in this movie probably like a first timer kind of a thing, right? So, but I think adding to what Raghu said earlier. ఒకటి ఏంటంటే అండి, ఈ సినిమాలో యాజ్ ఎ డైరెక్టర్ ఫర్ మీ నాకు చాలా సాటిస్ఫాక్షన్ అనిపించింది. ఎవ్రీబడి ఓన్ ద movie. It's not, I mean, even though I started it off, but everybody felt it's their piece. So I think that made my life easier, right? I think during the process, as much as Raghu mentioned, it were long days and all, but we never felt it as long days, right? I think I should especially thank Om's parents, Ramesh and Madhu. I mean, they were like the backbone for this entire production operation. And also I should thank Rajiv, Kalyani's husband, who introduced me to Madhu and I mean Ramesh here. So I think all of it, the key message here is mainly the story itself is written in a way that even the first timers can kind of go into the portion, and maybe with a little practice, I think they could deliver. So I mean, honestly, no issues with any of the actors, and I think they did quite well.
సో దీని తర్వాత ఏంటండి, ఇప్పుడు ఇది రిలీజ్ అయిపోతుంది, మళ్ళీ ఇంకోటి మొదలెట్టారా? ఇంకో సినిమా మాకు ఇంకోటి తీసుకురాబోతున్నారా?
గుడ్ క్వశ్చన్ అండి. యాక్చువల్లీ ఇది అసలు చేస్తానని నేను అనుకోలేదు. సో ఇట్ ఆల్ హ్యాపెండ్ అండ్ ఫెల్ ఇన్ ప్లేస్ క్వైట్ ఫాస్ట్. Certainly, and definitely I want to do, I mean, my initial goal was to make one movie a year, just as like a hobby and a distraction from work. So I mean, in my mind, I want to make a comedy next. We'll see if that pans out. So this is totally serious crime. The last movie is like a comedy crime, but next one I want to make something different. Yeah, definitely, Andy, but maybe not immediate. Maybe after 6 months or so.
సో చాలా బాగుందండి. మీరు మాకును మా TAGB ప్రేక్షకులకి ఎన్నో విషయాలు చాలా వివరంగా చెప్పారు మీరందరూను. మీ షార్ట్ ఫిల్మ్ రిలీజ్ చేయడానికి ఈ గ్రేటర్ బాస్టన్ ఏరియాలో మా TAGBని ఎన్నుకున్నందుకు ఎగ్జిక్యూటివ్ కమిటీ తరఫున మా ధన్యవాదాలు. ఈ చిత్రం కోసం అందరం ఎంతో ఉత్కంఠతో ఎదురు చూస్తున్నామండి. Good luck to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity, and we really had good time. Thank you so much.
Sincerely hope that if people who are watching will be also, I would also tell Sam, and Sam would say the same thing. I think they should write more reviews about watching the film, and I would also request the entire the team, the Telugu community and even other communities to join, and watch their movies, and using Facebooks, subscribe them on YouTube, and probably you can be a part and share the joy.
Absolutely, I will do. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.